Hi guys, welcome and who dat? I'm Joe. This is my channel Rosenfield 10. I cover the Saints. I'm gonna have my bells and whistles next week. Can't wait. But until that happens, we have a week 3 matchup. The New Orleans Saints, our beloved, bless you boys, in black and gold, are gonna be in the Caesars Superdome this Sunday hosting the Philadelphia Eagles. Before the season started, this looked like a tough game, and it was going to be a difficult one for the Saints to win. At the end of last year, the Eagles were in the middle of this awful losing streak. They managed to make the playoffs, but they were limping into the playoffs after starting the year like 10-1 or something like that. They'd won 8 straight games, 10-1. They end up losing out. They end up losing in the playoffs. We were hoping if we made the playoffs, it was either going to be us or Tampa Bay. That if we won, we would host the Eagles. That's who we wanted to play because Jalen Hurts was coming off an injury and the Eagles just seemed like they hadn't put it together. Tampa ends up getting that playoff spot. They end up hosting the Eagles. They end up winning. So it would have been a good spot for the Saints. And I was saying at the beginning of this year, well, the Eagles may have improved. So this is going to be a difficult out for the Saints. I don't know. The Eagles are 1-1 right now. They look like they can run the ball good, but they're struggling in other areas. I've heard a lot of people talk about how they're pretty much 2-8, 3-9 over the last 12 games. If you go back in the last year and you look at the Saints, and we won 5 of the last 6, so we're basically like 7-1 going up against a 2-7, 2-8 kind of team. I'm not really looking at it that way and thinking, okay, well, no worries at all. I mean, this is still a good football team. I don't know if they're going to figure it out before the rest of the season, but the Eagles are struggling now. The Saints seem like they figured it out pretty good. So basically, it's Clint Kubiak and the Saints offense going up against Vic Fangio and the Eagles defense. Do they have something for us? Can they slow us down? Looks like they're struggling. The Eagles are struggling against the run. We have the best running team in the league. But the issues for the Saints could be the same as last year. These are some things we haven't really gotten tested on yet. Can we stop the run? Can we stop a mobile quarterback? And can we cover the tight end? Goddard's a good player. The Eagles have a couple of tight ends they can throw to, and we haven't really shown that we can cover the tight end yet because I don't think we've really met as good of a tight end this season as we're going to see this weekend in Goddard. We haven't really faced a mobile quarterback, although Bryce Young has some escapability. It's nothing like Jalen Hurts. And then as far as stopping the run game, well, the Panthers have a running attack that gave us problems last year in at least one of the 2 games we played Carolina. This year we stopped Carolina no problem. Everybody seems to think Carolina's not going to be able to run the ball. They ran it up on us pretty good last year. They didn't get us this year. But that's really our only proof. Our second game against Dallas last weekend, we didn't really have to worry about the run all that much because I don't think their running attack is very good. And besides that, they fell behind so far, so fast. So have we really met a running attack yet this year? Besides us going up and by winning by so much, that kind of puts anybody out of their game. But we haven't faced a back as good as Barkley yet. And we have Atlanta after this weekend, and they have Bijan Robinson and Algier. So, we've got 2 really good running football teams that we have to face here in the next 2 weeks. All right, so yeah, I'm still up in the air wondering, can we stop the run? And it looks like we're doing okay so far. This is going to be a true challenge, the true test. And then as far as running quarterbacks go, yeah, we're gonna see a couple of them this year. I don't know if you consider Baker Mayfield a running quarterback, but he's a magician when escaping pressure in the pocket. And whether he decides to throw it or take off and run, he can still escape all that pressure. He seems to get surrounded and then pops out. So we have challenges as far as mobile quarterbacks coming up. Probably none more greater than this. A lot of people are still saying Jalen Hurts is not 100% yet. We'll see. We'll see. But yeah, if we can beat this team, regardless of how poorly the Eagles have been playing of late, regardless of how far anyone wants to drop the Eagles in their power rankings, if they lose to the Saints, regardless of how good you think the Eagles are, it's a good test. It's a true test. And if we win this game, it's going to prove something to me, especially if we do those three things: stop the run, stop Jalen Hurts from scrambling, and cover the tight ends. So I'm going to want to talk about Taysom Hill for a second. Today is Friday. It's 1 o'clock in the afternoon. I haven't seen any reports yet about practice or Taysom. I think he was limited yesterday. So I'm still not 100% sure if Taysom Hill's going to play in this game or not. It's a big must for me to have Taysom Hill in the huddle. It doesn't really matter if he produces that much as far as touching the ball. As long as he's in the huddle, he's going to confuse the defense. And that's a part of the Saints that I'm curious if you have to go in a game without some of these weapons. So if you have to go into a game without Taysom Hill, I'm curious as to how we're going to maintain, this the magic, keeping them confused when Taysom's not in the huddle, that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm sure Kubiak is bright enough to figure a bunch of stuff out, and we haven't really seen it yet. We haven't gone into a game without Alvin Kamara or without Rashid Shaheed or without Taysom Hill. These are weapons, and the teams have to worry about. So I didn't want to have to put that to the test as well as everything else we have to show that we have to do on defense. I'm riding high on the offense right now. And like I say, just to have Taysom in the huddle is an advantage for us. So I'm keeping an eye out on that. And of course, our defense. Our defense is supposed to be the strength of this team. There were several games last year where the defense struggled. They struggled for whole halves, going down 21-0 to the Vikings. That had nothing to do with the offense. The offense is allowed to go out there for a couple of drives and have to punt. And next thing you know, they're looking up and it's 21-0. I mean, that's a situation the offense could get into if the defense struggles. That's the kind of situation this team got into last year, falling behind early, where you're losing to the Rams. I think it was something like 30-7 or something like that. We finally crawled back into it and lost 30-22 or something. We haven't had to face that kind of a situation yet. And I don't picture the offense struggling to a large degree. I think we can mask any deficiencies if it's losing player personnel. I think Kubiak probably has his finger on the talent of this team and what we can do. I'm certain. I mean, if I was an offensive coordinator, I would sit there and figure it out. I would spend my whole offseason figuring it out. All right, if we're going into a game without Chris Olave and without Taysom Hill, if we're going into a game without this tackle or this, whatever, tight end, or this running back, and how can we make this work and, get everybody enough practice time to, it seems like, especially with the discussions over the backup quarterbacks, it seems like there's not really a lot of time for these guys to practice, huh? Kind of blew me away when I heard teams admit that early in the year, like when Dennis Allen said, well, we're just going to have to make sure we develop both of them. And I think about all the quarterbacks the Saints drafted or acquired when Sean Payton was here, and I'm like, well, Is that why we didn't develop Garrett Grayson? Is that why we didn't develop any of these quarterbacks we drafted? Because they just never get enough practice time? It kind of breaks your heart. How are these guys going to get any good if they don't get any playing time? So, yeah, I don't know. If I was an offensive coach, I would want all of my quarterbacks to play with the first team because they're going to have to. You have your quarterback play with the third stringers all off season, all of training camp, all of preseason, all of the practices, and then when they get in the game, they're throwing the guys they never threw to before. Yeah, it's a tough gig, but yeah, I would have to. I mean, I applaud Derek Carr if what he's saying is true, that he goes through all the practice reps by himself before he ever does it with the team. Now, he's getting twice as many reps as he gets as a starter. And that's what he attributes, that's what he says is part of the reason he's doing better to start the year. He's got to get twice as many reps as he gets, and he's a starter. Yeah, I kind of feel bad for the backup Taysom Hill guy, Who's going to be in that? I promise you, whoever takes Taysom Hill's place isn't going to confuse the team as much when they're in the huddle if it's just Adam Prentice or, Foster Moreau or something like that. So anyway, that's my caveats for the game. So when it's all said and done, I feel like our defense has to hold a team to under 20. Our offense has to find a way to score more than 20. Right now, our offense is averaging 45 points a game. So they're managing to score over 20, no problem. Defense, they allowed 10 one game. They allowed 19 last week against a good offense. So that's always been my barometer. We can win every game 21-19, and I would tell you, well, that's how you got to do it. As long as that defense is holding teams to under 20. Can we hold the Eagles to under 20 this week? It looks like the Eagles aren't going to be able to do much of anything. I mean, they can run the ball. And Saquon Barkley, yeah, we held him to 30-something yards last year when he was with the Giants, but I think Barkley's a good player. I know he burned us on a reception a couple of years ago, a huge play. This guy can play football, and that run option with him and Hurts is probably gonna, it's gonna cause a lot of problems. So how do I see our defense fixing this? We've been playing against Jalen Hurts several times, and we have a lot of film to go back and look at and to see exactly where we screwed up, because we usually screw up trying to corral him. So how do we do it? I'm assuming that you're going to have a lot of speed and a lot of attention on that mid to second level of the defense. So the defensive line, if you're expecting them to do it all, it's you could get the 4 fastest NASCAR defensive linemen you want. They probably aren't going to be good enough to chase him down, not on their own. We're going to need some sort of defense behind that 4-man front. And I'm looking at our linebackers, Demario Davis, Pete Werner, and Willie Gay. Willie Gay was brought here specifically for this, to put him on the field and to chase down mobile quarterbacks. That's what we got Willie Gay for. We haven't seen a lot of him. I think he's healthy right now, so I think we're going to get a big dose of Willie Gay. And I'm pretty sure we're not going to just go to 4-3 and have Werner, Davis, and Gay out there a lot, because I think Alontae Taylor as a nickel is a really good player to have on the field, regardless of whether they're running or passing. So if those big offensive linemen can get to the second level and get their hands on Alontae Taylor, yeah, it's going to be a mismatch for us. But those the Eagles averaged, I think, 330, 340 pounds on the offensive line. Those big guys can move anybody. If they can get to the second level, they can probably move Gay or Werner. So I think Alontae Taylor is going to play a big part in this. I see a scenario where Gay gets a lot of play at the will instead of Werner on passing downs. So that's kind of what I'm looking at. I'm looking at a little bit of 4-3 with both of them, all 3 linebackers on the field, but I'm focusing on Alontae Taylor and Willie Gay to be the guys behind the defensive line that make sure that this quarterback doesn't get loose. And as far as coverage goes, our secondary is great. If we get Marshon Lattimore back, he's practicing this week. And you got Lattimore and Adebo and Taylor and McKinstry, and then the safeties are playing good too. Tyrann Mathieu has to also be in that number. I don't look at Tyrann Mathieu as a speedy guy who's going to chase down mobile quarterbacks, but Tyrann Mathieu has been playing a lot around the line of scrimmage this year, and he's going to be part of that second level too. So if the defensive line can't corral Hurts, I'm hoping Willie Gay, Demario Davis, Tyrann Mathieu, and Alontae Taylor can make it happen. I expect Adebo and Lattimore to be shut down. Yeah, we do all that, we'll be all right. That's what I'm thinking. So let me get into a few other things. The caveat is still there with every Saints provider telling you it's not going to be like this all year. And I kind of like this right now through 2 games. I like it. So why can't it be like this every year, every game, all year? Why can't we be? We're not going to score 40 points every year. Who says? Maybe we can. I know eventually something's going to happen and we're going to fall behind and eventually we're going to be in trouble. And I'm going to say this about our Super Bowl team. We started off red hot just like this, and we eventually hit a wall. We hit some adversity. Now, we won 13 games in a row that year. When we hit a wall, we managed to climb over it. I mean, I can think of 2 games right off the top of my head that were a real struggle. I think the Redskins gave us a problem, and I know Miami gave us a problem. Miami was up on us 24-3. They were running Ricky Williams, running us all over. And then we came back huge in the second half, ended up pulling away and scoring, I think, 40-something on them. But we were down at one point 24-3. And that's what was impressive about the Super Bowl team to me, is when those situations happened and I'm thinking, oh, well, we're finally going to lose one. No, we managed to win anyway. Drew Brees ran for 2 touchdowns against the Dolphins. They inexplicably quit running Ricky Williams in the second half. They literally put it all on Tannehill's, I think it was Tannehill's shoulders when they were up by so much. And I mean, it was just awful coaching that, so the ball bounces in our favor a lot so far this year, I've noticed. Not a lot, but a little. When the ball bounces in the Saints' favor, it's very rare. And the Super Bowl year, it bounced in our favor quite a bit. Now, we ended up losing the last 3 games of that Super Bowl year. And that championship game against the Vikings was a real nail-biter. It was a put your fist through the wall kind of game because you just thought the Saints weren't going to do it. It was a struggle. It was a big struggle to win that game. I think the championship game was a much harder game than the Super Bowl, actually. So what I'm saying is, as good as that Super Bowl team was for the Saints, the most impressive thing was the way we handled adversity. And losing 3 games going into the playoffs, that kind of makes you think, are we really that good? After 13 straight wins, to drop 3 in a row, are we really that good? So yeah, there was always a bit of a question. And there's going to be a question with this team. Can they keep scoring 40-something points a game? Well, yeah, we're not supposed to. But why not? I mean, could this team be different than even the Super Bowl team? Can this team be so dominant that the only team we can compare them to is the 85 Bears? Could they? The Bears did lose 1 game that year. Ironically, against the Dolphins. The Dolphins kept them from being undefeated in the regular season. But the Bears won that Super Bowl, something like 46-10. Is it going to be like this for the Saints all year? I don't know. Ridiculous to think that it is. It's bizarro world. That's what I've been saying. It's bizarro world right now. You don't want to think it's going to be like this all year because it just doesn't make sense. That's too bizarre. There's no way this offensive line is playing this good. Like I said in the last video, you can ask the question, how many Saints offensive linemen are going to the Pro Bowl this year? As insane and as crazy as that question is, it's also very, very realistic. It's also a serious question. We keep playing like this, the offensive linemen are going to go to the Pro Bowl. Derek Carr might win MVP. Alvin Kamara could be Offensive Player of the Year or MVP. And Dennis Allen could be Coach of the Year. If everything just stays the way it is, well, it's not going to stay like this. It's ridiculous. This is bizarro world we're living in right now, and I'm going to eat it up, suck it up like a Saints fan. We deserve this. We don't suck again. We're good again. And I'm going to keep being good again. We end up dropping a game, I'm going to be, oh, no, here we go, we suck again. But that's not going to happen. As long as we're living in bizarro world, and as long as the offensive line is looking good, as long as Derek Carr is one of the top quarterbacks in the league, as long as the offense is one of the best in the league, we're living in bizarro world. So let's keep it in bizarro world. How about we score another 40-burger? How about our defense holds another team to under 20 points? How about it? Why not? I think it could happen. It could. I was flirting with a final score prediction for the first half of the week. I was stuck on Saints winning, Saints 34, Eagles 27. And the more I thought about it, I was like, I just don't think the Eagles can put up that many points. If the only thing they're good at is running the ball, and then they actually do have success running the ball, it kind of lends itself to being fewer points. The Saints are, like I said, bizarro world exception. We're the number one running team and the number one scoring offense. So usually when a team's running the ball, they're not scoring as much. They're burning clock. The game gets shorter. I see that working in the Saints' favor. The Eagles might be okay running the ball if our offense can click and get up early. So then I started thinking about the score, and I was like, well, maybe the Saints can actually get 37. Or in bizarro world, maybe we do average over 40 points a game. Maybe we do get 40 points. So my final score prediction for this weekend is going to be the Saints 41, the Eagles 13. Now I'm drowning in bizarro world right now. I picked the Saints to win 31-19 last weekend. They win 44-19. I should pump the brakes. No, I should enjoy this. We win this game by 1 point, I'll be happy. But for right now, I'm going to base everything on what I'm seeing. And I'm going with Saints 41, Raiders, Saints 41, Eagles 13. Because I think we're going to stop the run. I think we're going to cover the tight end. I think we're going to stop this mobile quarterback. And I think our defense is going to keep everybody under 20 points. Will the Saints keep scoring 40? I don't know. The 85 Bears didn't average 40 points a game. You know, if we finish this season averaging 30 or more points a game, it'll be an incredible offensive production. So before I let you guys go, I'm going to talk about one more thing, two more things actually, and that's Derek Carr. I appreciate the Saints fans enjoying this. I appreciate that they're trying to like him. He's a difficult guy to like, actually. I mean, you know, like I've said in multiple videos, I'd rather hang out with Jameis Winston and Derek Carr. Maybe if I got to know him, I'd like him a little more. But I do think he would be a good coworker. So that was my point to the matter, was I could work with him. I just probably won't go have a beer with him after work. But I could work with him. Well, the guy that's taunting people and everything else, that I can hang out with that guy. I can at least have a drink or two and laugh. Deep inside, I might be laughing at him. But if he's putting up an MVP caliber season, yeah, I better be laughing with him. Or he's going to be laughing at me while he's holding that Super Bowl trophy. Why not? Why not, Derek Carr? You think maybe he could do that while holding the Super Bowl trophy? Oh! Be so funny. I swear the Superdome should try to get the rights to a Michael Jackson song, and they should play it when they introduce Derek Carr. And we're going from, I thought the crowd was going to boo when Derek Carr came out, to look at the crowd getting down with the old school, with the Mike Jack, right? The MJ. I thought that you could have Smooth Criminal playing, or Beat It. No one wants to be defeated. And I had some commenters saying, it's got to be bad. I'm bad, Jim Mona, Just saying, let's have fun with it. He got fined $14,000, but every football outlet seems to be using the thumbnail or the image. It's hilarious that he got fined $14,000, but everybody loves it. My whistles and bells are coming back. That's the first picture I'm going to get. A little Mike Jack. So, yeah, Derek Carr's attitude, I'm loving it right now. As long as we're going to win, we're going to be happy with our players, right? So, especially the ones that are performing very well, and he is. And the other thing I want to touch on is the offensive line. Lucas Patrick playing out of his mind right now. Okay, so when we played Chicago last year, Patrick was on their offensive line, and our number one defensive tackle draft pick, Bryan Bresee, said that was the hardest player he went up against all year. That he had a hard time with Patrick. So we went and got Patrick. We all got excited, and then Patrick didn't look so hot in the first preseason game. Then I'm thinking, well, he's hot and cold player. So, but right now he's adjusted to this scheme well, and he's playing out of his mind. So if this scheme suits his abilities, and this guy's sure starting left guard all of a sudden, Patrick is leading the league. He's the number one left guard in the league. He keeps up these numbers, he'll end up in the Pro Bowl. And then a guy that nobody wanted, all of a sudden the Saints are going to have to re-sign. How much are you going to have to pay him? So Patrick almost didn't get this job. It was between him and Nick Saldiveri. We were leaning towards starting Saldiveri. Was the competition really that close? I'm going to suggest that it was. I'm going to suggest that there really was a question. And if Patrick is playing this well, then that kind of bodes well for how good Nick Saldiveri would look if he had to get out there. So I'm starting to think about this stuff a little bit. We didn't know who was going to play where. We wasn't sure if Trevor Penning was going to start at right tackle, if it was going to be Oli Udoh. And now that Penning looks pretty good, you got to figure, well, maybe Oli Udoh would look pretty good in this system too. And I just say that because Patrick was a guy thrown to the wasteland, and now he's the best guard in the league through 2 games. How does this happen? How does an entire league of football teams not see that this guy was this good? Bryan Bresee told everyone he was. The Bears knew he was. The Packers knew he was. They had great veterans on that Packers team, and everyone kept pointing at Lucas Patrick as the glue, as the rah-rah guy and everything else. Now he's on our team. The glue, the connection between our great center and our young left tackle. It looks great. So Patrick had to leave the game in the first game, and Landon Young took his place, and we really didn't miss a beat. And then Patrick played out of his mind last week against good competition, and so I'm starting to get excited. Maybe Landon Young and Nick Saldiveri can play guard and be effective in this scheme too. Maybe our offensive line is not only outperforming as far as the starters go, but maybe the depth is there as well. Maybe so. Something to think about. So there you go. I'm Joe. Subscribe to Rosenfield 10 for more videos about our beloved Bless You Boys in black and gold, the New Orleans Saints. My final score prediction, Saints 41, Eagles 13. Fly like a saint this weekend. And until the next one, I'll talk to you later. Who dat? Go Saints.